Welcome to this Unlimited production. We are here today in video number 3 of this series of the 7 incomes to become a millionaire in the next 10 years. In the first 2 episodes, if you missed them, there's the link below. We talked about your own hard work and we talked about interest that you're getting on your own money. And today we're talking about income number 3, which is owning stock and being paid dividends. Dividends from the stocks that you own. Now first, I want to make a very big disclaimer. I am sharing here about the experiences that we have had working with stocks and what we're doing. We would love to share these experiences with you. Now of course, in no sense we're making any suggestions or any promises on possible returns. Now here we're talking about general theory and general suggestions. Of course, I'm going to share a bit of our own experiences that we have had working with this field. Now, for some of you, you have absolutely no idea what dividends are. And what dividends basically are, just to get you an idea, is, let's say we have a company, and let's say we call this company XYZ. And this company is doing well, is not doing well, it does not really matter. Mostly, dividends are only being paid if companies are doing well. But there are exceptions. There's companies who are paying dividends even though they're not so doing well. But let's say they are doing well, and they have a surplus of profits, of cash. Then this company can say, just small example, okay, let's say we have $1,000. Now, of course, we're talking about normally higher revenue numbers, but we're just keeping it simple. Let's say we have $1,000 in surplus cash. Half of that, we're gonna pay out in dividends to the people who own this company. And this could be all kinds of people who hold the stock of this company. So let's say $500 are being paid out, and let's say there's 500 stocks, then divided by 5. In this case, every stock would get $1 dividend. This is the basic concept of how dividend work. And of course, there's a lot more to that because taxes and all these kind of things. We want to keep it short and simple, and in the future, we're going to go more into details. Now, there's a really famous quote from John D. Rockefeller, and what he said, the only thing that makes me happy in these days is the dividends I collect. And what I mean with this is that for some, and maybe also for you, stocks are extremely scary. And why is that? Because we hear the scary stories of stocks going up, but then suddenly crashing. Especially if you're watching the news at the moment. My tip, don't watch the news. But at the moment, you hear a lot about an overheated stock market. You hear about stocks crashing. You hear about people in China, in Greece, losing tons of money in the stock market. And here's a very big tip for mine. Stocks, in my opinion, should be bought long term. If you buy stocks short term, high speculative factor. If you buy stocks over the longer term, the speculation side goes down. Now, if you watched video 2 already, you will have heard in there or learned in there that normally you should divide the money that you can put aside into a safer pot, into a less speculative pot, and in a more speculative pot. Now, of course, stock should rather fall into the more speculative pot. And the longer, the older you become, normally the smaller the stock part should be, simply because you need to have money for your retirement, right? One of the most famous investors who is using dividends payout is, and maybe some of you have heard him, is Warren Buffett. Now, Warren Buffett, I'm not sure if he's still the richest person in the world, but let's say he's in the top 3 in the world. It always changes a little bit. His main strategy in investing is that he doesn't look at the actual price all the time. So he does not care if a stock actually fluctuates. He always gives an example of farmland where he says he would love to have farmland that's productive every month, every year, and pays something out, and he doesn't even care about what the actual price of the farmland is over time, as long as it produces results. And so this is how dividends basically work. So if you see this over a longer period of time, and you buy something, and you keep and hold it, it might fluctuate, it might be up, it might be down, but all the time, it can be quarterly, can be semi-annual, can be annually, can be even monthly. There is these dividend payouts, and you get them, you have to tax them, depending on where you're living, but then you can get them, and you can get them either cash, or if you want, you can reinvest them straight into the same stock. Now, what makes dividends different from interest income that we talked about? Well, dividends are based on a stock price percentage. That means the higher the stock is, normally the smaller the percentage of the dividend, unless the company increases the dividend. So there are companies, and Warren Buffett has been excellent at selecting these stocks, that over time perform well, so they keep growing, but at the same time, normally the dividend payout would go down because in a percentage it would drop, but at the same time these companies have raised the dividend as well, so the percentage increase goes up. Now what does this mean? Some of these companies that Warren Buffett holds, for example, a good company that he holds is Coca-Cola. Well, that company pays a single-digit dividend, maybe 2 or 3%. It doesn't matter about the actual number right now. And so some of you might say, 2 or 3%, that's not so much. 3%, let's say 3%. And you might say, 3%, that's not so much. But what you have to consider is this. He bought that stock here, and he got 3% here. That stock, let's say, just an example, tripled since that, but the dividend was stable. So today that wouldn't be 3%. Today he would be making, based on the money here, 9%. So the power of dividend income is that if you keep holding a position and a good healthy company keeps paying you dividends over a period of time and keeps paying that. Now of course this is a very complex topic, and you could there's huge things done on dividend selection, on company selection, all these things, and in later episodes we're going to go into that. But here it's about the different strategies, and if you like that kind of idea of getting dividends, then you should definitely have a look deeper into that, and I'm going to give you my personal input of what I am doing with this and how I'm using that. The key to this is that over time, stocks or companies that do well tend to increase in price over a longer period of time. Of course, you always have these ups and downs, but if you look back the last 50 years, and it's probably pretty safe to say that over the next 50 years, there's going to be a general uptrend in the economy, in the general economy. Companies will do well, and dividends are going to go up over time. Now, this is long-term speaking. So, income number 3 is a bit more complex topic, and I would not, this is a really big disclaimer here, not just simply go, use my money and just throw it into the stock market and gamble on some stocks and hoping I would make some dividends, even though there's some really amazing dividend stocks out there and you can make some very nice money. So do some research. Remember, if you have $1,000 left over and you don't know where to invest it into yourself first. Get a good book about dividend income. Get a good book about investing first. Now here's what I am doing. What I am doing is, every month, I invest the same amount of money into an ETF, exchange traded fund, and I invest every month. This is called dollar cost averaging. So over time, I get an average of a value. And I do this, I've been doing this for the last 10 years, and I'm gonna keep doing this. So it's always every month, a small amount, and we're gonna go into this principle. And I'm looking for ETFs that pay me a nice dividend. Now, if you're based in Hong Kong, if you're based in Asia, and you like ETFs from that area, do that. If you're in the US, look for that. If you're in Europe, look for that. We're gonna have special topics on that. I just want to give you some nice tips. Now, you might totally disagree with this. That's fine. I've been running really well with that strategy. An ETF is generally a selection of all kinds of stock based on certain criteria that ETF is tracking. And then, if I invest small amounts every month into that ETF, over time, the ups and downs are going to balance each other out. And so over time, since generally the stock market is moving up slowly, yes, it's going to dip, but look back, it always goes back up. Maybe sometimes it takes 10, maybe it takes 20 years. And since it's a broad selection, I can spread the risk. I spread it out. But every year, maybe I get 3% dividend. But I've been doing this for the last 10 years. So today, maybe this ETF has doubled or tripled in value. So actually, on some of my money, I'm making way more than 9%. I'm actually making, on average, 7% on this ETF based on the total performance. And that's quite interesting because I still get the capital gains on that. We're going to talk about that actually in the next episode. And I'm getting the monthly income from the dividend. This is what many smart investors that work over time use a lot, and I can only but agree with Rockefeller. He was a very smart man. Dividends are one of the few things that are guaranteed on the stock market, and if you own stocks, you definitely want to look into dividends. You want to know, however, what you're doing, and you can definitely learn with that. I know the longer the incomes now, we need to go more into detail in these things. I want to point them out to you first so you get a bit of an overview. That's the idea of these episodes. And then over time, we're going to go into more details, into the ETF part, into dollar cost averaging, into stock selection, and so on. With this, subscribe to our YouTube channel, go on our Facebook page. We have some very nice tips there as well. We have a meetup group. If you are on Meetup, go on LinkedIn, connect with us there, and I hope you get good value out of that. We're going to keep updating these things. Next week, we're going to talk about the fourth types of income that's going to make you become a millionaire. Remember, you don't want to put your eggs into one basket. You want to spread them out. Hope you get good value. Have a great Tuesday. Talk to you next week. Thanks.